reflection sometimes, understanding the success and the process which we went through last year, how much fun that was, and yet how quickly it can end. And that's the beauty of the NCAA tournament. Um, I think everybody's got a sense of pride and they want to get back and do this again. Uh, so I feel pretty confident about that. But we never let them forget.
What'll be unique this year in figuring out pieces, how they fit together, units that will play together, roles, all that?
Experimenting. Yeah, that's why it's a lot more scrimmaging. Last year our role identification became tremendous. Now I think it's about making sure we've got a sample size, enough scrimmages, enough opportunities to see how guys work together. We're playing two exhibition games under the lights, see how people react. Getting guys back with fans. I think all of that encompasses it. That's the piece of that's putting the pieces of the puzzle together that I like to do. And we've got five new faces and some guys going to be in a different role. There's no doubt Io was a prominent role in everything we tried to do last year. So we'll fit those pieces in and see how it works because right now I really like all those pieces.
I guess on the role identification front, what's the balance maybe having a lot of veterans that maybe can figure it out, but also five newcomers and guys like you mentioned stepping into new roles that they can.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's one of the things that those veterans, that you can push the envelope a little bit in practice. You can move ahead. They've got it down pat. And yet, there's a patience that goes with having five new guys, even learn terminology and the simplicity of the things that we do that are very basic. And we'll never skimp on those things. But it's this group of new guys has done a great job. We're a few practices in, and they're closing the gap quickly because of their film study. They're working. They're doing all the things they need to do to get up to speed.
Coach, in the roles, you have a guy almost every year that it's overused, the glue guy, but Feliz was one. You get guys that might not be the stars, but they really help you win games. How do you get that accomplished, and who might that be in this year's program?
I think we got a lot of candidates. I think that you look at a DeMonte Williams, you look at a Jacob Grandison, you look at an Austin Hutcherson. I say this all the time that I don't care about who starts. To me, it's about the bigger piece and filling all the pieces of the pie. I want productivity off the bench. I want offense off the bench. I want an energy guy off the bench. I want that in our starting lineup. And I do a lot of that by feel, but I think we've got very, very capable guys. And I think, we got some very talented guys that are, when I went out last year, and Trent Frazier, went from, kind of film checked every box to all of a sudden, here he is getting 20 every night because he's capable. So we'll figure all that out as time goes here.
Brad, you've had two of the faces of college basketball the last couple of years, and Andre, an exciting young player. What's that do for your program when you have guys of that stature in your program?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt. I think it elevates our program and it elevates our profile, our brand. I feel that continually growing. I think it does it in a very positive way because they've been not just good players, but they're really good human beings, and their character shows. I think it shows that we're developing guys and getting guys better. That you continue to do that, so it's something I'm really pleased with. It means we're on the right guys, but more importantly, it shows that we're helping them grow, and we're continuing to allow them to expand their games. Now we've got to continue that last step, which is taking that deep run.
How have you seen Trey progress from year one to year two? Is he making the strides you want with the jump shot?
Yeah, he's worked extremely hard on that. He's a good shooter. Derek, he's a guy that's not a bad shooter. He got off to a tough start. It was very similar, reminded me a lot of I had a K-State. I think he missed his first 16, and it wasn't. Um, they weren't bad shots. They just didn't go in. And I think Dre's tried a little too hard last year, pressed a little bit when he was in the games, but he's worked extremely hard at it. He's got great form. He'll be a guy that's going to be a very, very good shooter.
Coach, you discussed deep runs, and you weren't the only Big Ten team that kind of exited early last year. Is there anything you kind of put your finger on in terms of that, as strong as the league was in the regular season compared to what happened in the postseason?
I don't know if there's one answer to that. I think that it was the best league in the country. We literally beat the heck out of each other every single night. Is that a factor? I don't know. It was the fact that we played a Big Ten tournament here and never left. We never went outside. I don't know. I'm not going to make an excuse. We got beat. We had an off day. Whatever the reasons, Loyola was better than us that day. I've tried to think of a million reasons, but I don't think it deters from the fact this is great coaches, great players, was the best league in the history of college basketball, and that's what makes March crazy. One game and you're done.
Fred, you often called Io the best closer in college basketball. Do you have a closer this year, or is it a closer by committee?
To be determined. I think the one thing that happened last year was when I go back to the Indiana game, Io got in foul trouble and ended up fouling out. We gave the ball to Bello. Bello did it in a different fashion. He did it with a pass, made 2 elite passes. I think that Curbelo very easily could have been the MVP of the Big Ten tournament. He was a guy that hit big shots down the stretch in the semis and the finals. I got a feeling he's going to have ample opportunities to have the ball in his hands. I think he's got really good supporting cast around him. He'll just do it differently than Io will.
Brad, you talked about Hutch playing a little point guard. When Andre's not on the court, who is your distributor? Who's the guy that gets you going?
Yeah, I think we'll see multiple guys there. Obviously, I love Trent there. You guys know I'm very comfortable with Trent at that spot. Trent's not going to turn it over. He's obviously an elite defender. But Hutch gives us that other piece that's different. A very, very good shooter, a guy who can pop up over little guards, a guy that's 6'6", very athletic. Gives us a different feel there, and I like that. I've been really impressed with that at the early part of practice. I've juggled him from really the 1, 2, and 3 spots here early, and I like him on the ball zone.
Brad, what difference do you see in having a more traditional offseason?
Say it again.
What has maybe a more traditional offseason done for Kofi where he's had an opportunity to win?
Yeah, that's huge. People forget that last year we didn't have an offseason. There was nothing. There was no wage. We didn't do anything. And Kofi made huge strides from year 1 to year 2. A lot of those on the mental side. This year we've been able to get in the gym. We've been able to work on dribble handoffs. We've been able to expand his range, make him feel comfortable in those scenarios, and scenarios that he's very capable of doing. We just didn't put him in those situations last year because we hadn't worked enough on him. I think he's a very good short roll guy. He's seeing the game better. I think those are all things that will translate just simply because we've had time to work on them.
Part of his time was spent in the pre-draft process and working out by himself. What did that bring to his team?
Yeah, sometimes seeing a little different field and getting a different idea or a different subjective view of how things are helped him a little bit. He saw the importance of it. He's been a guy that's, he's a sponge. He takes it all in. The big thing was he was working, and he was expanding his game, and we've continued to do that since he's been back.
I know there's a lot that you still want to accomplish. Taking a second at all in the last 3 years to step back and appreciate where you were when you had that press conference to kind of where you guys are now?
I think it's one of the things that is a challenge for me. I probably had the busiest off season I've ever had, and just in terms of I don't know the compression that I think happened because of COVID and all of the recruiting, and I understand it. I also coach a lot of times from the glass is half empty. So I'm always trying to strive for more, and sometimes I don't do a good enough job of reflecting. I'm proud. I feel really good about the progress we've made, but we're not at the top of the mountain. That's for darn sure. We're a long way from it. We got to keep growing. We got to keep working. We've got to keep improving in all areas, and that's just not on the court. That's in all facets of the game. So I probably don't do it enough. But I have a great understanding, and I know how fortunate we are, and how blessed I am to be sitting here.
Coach, a lot of talent on this team between Monte, Trent, Kofi, the transfers. How big of a deal is that? How much easier does your job get because you have so much talent that goes beyond just 3 or 4 players?
Yeah, I think we'll see that on the offensive side. I think we were a better shooting team. I'm trying to play a little bit faster. And yet not lose sight of the fact that Kofi had 79 dunks. He was one of the top usage guys in ball screens. We still have to emphasize him, but I think the players we put around him are very good shooters. I think that will enhance our efficiency, I hope. And again, you can't just focus on he or Dre or Trent. You've got guys like Plummer, you got guys like Coleman Hawkins, Austin Hutcherson, guys that are all very capable of having big nights.
When you look at DeMonte came into a situation that needed a lot of work 4 years ago, how important has it been to this process, and what's their value when you look back at 2 years and kind of what they've done?
Yeah, Trent and DeMonte are the guts of this thing. They're the underbelly. They're the culture. They're the guys that get Trent Frazier. One time Trent Frazier gets mad at me is when I take him out of practice. Trent Frazier's the ultimate winner. He's the guy that will do anything it takes to help us win, whether that's guard the other team's best player, or last year when I was out, step up and get 20. DeMonte's been that jack of all trades, glue guy, so to speak, whether it was in a starting role, whether it was in a role off the bench, and he's turned into an elite catch and shoot guy. I think second in the country last year in 3-point shooting. So having those guys back speaks volumes, I think, to where our program is at and the culture that they're a part of, and they want to come back and try to achieve more.
Coach, have you got any more clarity on Kofi's status after the players trunk and selling some of his gears?
Not yet.
Brandon talked about Andre being an alpha, Kofi being an alpha. What do their versions of alpha look like and feel like?
Yeah, I think Kofi's a joy, and I say this because he's such a sponge in terms of wanting to learn. But Kofi never has a bad day, and he's a guy that every day he's happy. He's got a smile on his face. He's fun to be around. He wants to be pushed. He wants to be coached. Not many guys are asking to be coached and pushed today. He is one. And then Dre's a guy that is mentally so beyond his years and his experience because of his upbringing. He's always played against older guys. His view of the game is so mature. But Dre's a fun-loving kid. I have a blast with those guys. Those guys bring unbelievable energy every single day to practice, just because they're fun. They're good human beings, and when your best players are that, makes pretty fun every day.
You mentioned trying to improve every year, and you're focused on moving forward rather than going backwards. Do you actually think this year's team can be better than last year?
Yes. Now, what does that look like? I don't know yet, but I like there's a lot of unknowns in that, but I think we're a better shooting team. I think that we'll see an emergence of Coleman Hawkins, Austin Hutcherson. I get it. Io was a dominant figure, but how those pieces come together and the chemistry. Once you start putting a score up, things become a little bit different. Guys have their role identification. Some guys become, a little unsettled. I don't think that'll be the case with our group, but we've got a lot of very good players, and I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to get that group on the court. Yeah, I think it's sad. I mean, and I'm again, I guess maybe I'm the old school guy here a little bit. I mean, growing up and watching Jabbar and Will, and, those guys, and then it changes to Shaq, and the closer you get to the basket, the better chance you have to score. Patrick Ewing, all those guys, and yeah, and you look at this league, and the quality of the big man in this league is unparalleled. It's not even close nationally, and I don't know what that means yet for them down the road. We'll see. I think you look at Matt's team at Purdue, and he's big, and he's got quality, just quality guys. It's changed, and yet there's still such dominant college players. I'm excited about that. I know we're fortunate to be able to coach them, and I hope that there's a place for all of them at that next level.
You're not imagining it. We can't hear what he's saying.
Sure. I think that Kofi's got an unlimited pool of talent. Are we going to set him out there and let him shoot 15 threes a night? No, we're not. Let's not forget that he had 79 dunks, led the country in that area. He was the number one guy in the country in ball screen rolls. He's efficient there, and yet, can he go handle the basketball? Yes. Can he play in dribble handoffs and short rolls and make passes? Yes. We didn't do that last year, Mike, simply for the fact that we didn't get a chance to work on it in the off season, and he's capable of those things, and that will help us. And he expands his bag, so to speak, helps us expand our bag. So I'm excited. We're working on those things every single day with us.
Brad, you mentioned being an old school guy. How have, with the transfer portal, lots of new guys coming in every year, how have you adjusted maybe your method of teaching, learning about guys who are fifth-year seniors when they come in as opposed to freshmen? How have you changed your approach?
Yeah, it's ongoing, Brad. I think the one thing we've tried to do is never lose sight of what I want our program to be. And it's one with character, it's one built with a foundation of hard work. We have the saying, everyday guys. Sometimes the portal's speed dating. And it's 2 or 3 phone calls and you're getting somebody. And this year we were very fortunate with Omar and with Alfonso that we knew them. We had some in-depth background stuff. We knew of their personality and their fit. We're going to continue to try to do that, and yet I'm still going to be stubborn and try to build this thing with freshmen and try to get guys better every year and keep developing them that way so they're a part of our brand, our culture, and we'll fill in as we need to transfers. He's really good. They played him as an undersized 5, and he was a matchup nightmare for everybody in this league. And he's a guy that is very, very versatile. Seeing him as a high school player, he expanded his range tremendously. I mean, he was a center in high school. And yet he's very effective on the defensive end because he's so quick twitch. He's a sneaky good shot blocker. He's a guy that has, very cerebral. He was very well coached in high school. Chris does a great job with him. just a really good player, and he's got that strength that allows him to prevent people from getting deep position all the time. That's why he's one of the best players in this conference and in the country.
Coach, there's a chippiness about your program, and we've seen in some matchups where some opponents that don't like you guys very much and have been not afraid to say that. How do you view that, and what does that say to you?
Maybe it's taken on a little bit of my personality. I hope so. I think that's it. I think you have to play the game with some passion. I think you have to play the game with some uh, fire in your belly, and maybe it means we've arrived a little bit. People want to talk about us that way and not like us that way. Maybe it's because I don't know. We've stepped on toes. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But I'm never going to be a guy that apologizes for coaching with passion, having our guys play with passion, having them play with fire, being competitive as hell, and that's who I am.
Fred, this is one of the only arenas you guys got to play in front of fans at last season. What does that kind of add to this year as you guys kind of return with really high expectations again, that you'll be able to kind of share that with Illini fans?
Some unknowns in that. It's one of the reasons we're playing 2 exhibition games. Really, Curbelo, Coleman Hawkins, Brandon Lieb, those freshmen didn't get to experience fans. For us, it's special. We've got the best student group in the country in the Orange Crush. We sell out every night. It's an advantage. I think getting used to that again will take a few minutes. And I think I'm so proud of every team in our league. Not having that exterior motivation, so to speak, everybody showed up and hooked it up. I thought there might be some games where teams just, didn't have it. The crowd wasn't there to amp them up. Saying that, I do think it was easier to win on the road. Yeah, it's going to be a huge factor. It's what makes the Big Ten the best league in the country.
When it comes to Andre, what's the balance of letting him play his game, maybe, kind of do his thing, versus, things you want to rein in, certain inefficiencies, turnovers and things like that. So how do you kind of let him be him while also being...
Yeah, I let him be him a lot. Because the one thing I figured out with Bello is I always ask him what he saw. And usually what he sees is the right play. And where I really try to coach him is understanding time and score. And that it sometimes doesn't have to be the home run play after a turnover or after a bad shot by our team. You've got to understand those situations. The physical part of the game, he feels like he can make any play, and it's usually the right play. And young guy that got a lot of credit for some turnovers that weren't necessarily his fault. That'll be the same thing. That'll be the same thing at some point this year. But very seldom. He's a student of the game. Very seldom makes the wrong read.
But you talked about other schools maybe not necessarily liking you guys as much and stepping on toes. I know you don't like putting extra emphasis on other games, but fans definitely do. How fun is it for you to see the fans get amped up for a game against Iowa or Michigan, whoever it might be?
Well, I think the importance of college basketball is we understand that the name on the front of the jersey yields a lot of pride, and a lot of people care about it. A lot of people, went to school there, graduated from there, go to the water coolers, the coffee pot, and they enjoy talking about their university. That's what makes college basketball one of the greatest sports, the NCAA tournament, fun. And a lot of that has to do with having a rivalry or a dislike for somebody. We don't have to dislike them. As coaches, we all get along. This group of coaches is great, but it's pretty cool when you feel that extra juice coming from fans.
Last year, I think you guys finished 14th in the league in percentage of shots from three and points produced by threes. Considering your shooting coming into this year, the caliber of guys you have, is that a number that changes? Do you put more emphasis on putting up more threes?
I hope so. We were an elite 2-point shooting team last year. I think one of the things that we felt really good about was we knew that Kofi was a 2-point scorer. Io was an elite 2-point scorer. Curbelo was an elite 2-point scorer. That we were going to play to that. Now we shot. I think we were 33rd in the country, somewhere right there in 3-point field goal percentage. We just didn't take a lot of them. We'll take more of them this year because we simply have guys that it fits their DNA. I need Trent Frazier to take a couple more. I need Alfonso Plummer to have a game where he has, like he had in the Pac-12 tournament, where he makes 11. We have guys capable of that. Coleman Hawkins, DeMonte Williams, Jacob Grandison might be our best 3-point shooter. So I think we've built that around Curbelo a little bit with that in mind, and Kofi, and kind of pick your poison.
In terms of Kofi developing as a passer on the post, at a double team, things like that, where is he in that progress?
Much improved. We have days we don't let Kofi shoot. He's got to pass it, and he's got to make the right read. And again, that's something that experience is huge. Knowing where defenders come from, knowing where the play is, where we're at. He's grown there immensely.
As far as Curbelo goes, what it was like watching him in high school. That team was also in the Big Ten. A lot of talent on that roster. What was it like going to some of those games and seeing like those guys playing young?
Well, I'm fascinated with passing, first and foremost. So that stood out, and there's very few people, in my opinion, that make others better, and literally can make others better and dominate a game. And Dre, all of a sudden, you look down, he's got 17 points, and he's got 8 or 9 assists, and he's always been a great rebounder. I think last year in a game, he was first game maybe he almost had triple double. So it's fun to see guys enjoy making others better. And in high school, he was that guy. Blue High was one of the great teams in the country, and it was largely due to his playmaking abilities.
When you can see two guys like that who are high school teammates who then are going to play against each other in the Big Ten for however long they decide to both be in the Big Ten, what is that like for you, maybe just as a fan of the game, to get to see those friendships then, take another level at a college?
Yeah, that's fun. Those guys know each other. They've got a lot of sweat equity together, through their high school days, and now they've got to go do it and shift gears a little bit and do it for their respective institutions. So that's always fun. Those guys always get up for a little bit. They get bragging rights. In the summer back at home. So that's one of the things that makes basketball fun.
Andre said that he felt he had a role in bringing Alfonso to your team. What did you see in that with their connection, and how did Curbelo maybe influence?
Well, Dre knew we were trying to recruit shooting and enhance our perimeter shooting. And again, there was a connection. They knew each other from Puerto Rico. They knew his reputation. That was a huge piece of what we do. And then when you start looking and watching film, you see the success. He was extremely well coached with Larry at Utah, and a guy that, again, I don't care about size. I don't care about that young man can make a basket and do it at a very high level. And a big piece of it.
What you feel walking in here today? 7 months ago, you walked out here, maybe the lowest of your career.
Yeah, I felt more going in the tunnel than I did walking out here. Driving in, I tend to remember those moments. But again, one of those, pretty crappy moments, but get beyond it, move on. Let's go do it again. I think every great program's had those moments. But, I'll take coming back here anytime and trying to create a new memory.
Coach, you talked about pushing Kofi and multi-lesson challenge. How do you do that? Like, what does that look like for you in practice?
We can't put that on camera or film. But, Kofi wants to be pushed. Kofi wants to know when he's not doing the right things. And I use Kofi as an example a lot. Sometimes it's stuff that he didn't even do wrong, but that our team might not have been great at or done something. And I single Kofi out. He's man enough. He expects that. He's grown up. He's leader. But yet he's one of those guys that, hey, if my motor slips or I'm not doing this, get on me, remind me. And sometimes I do that louder than other times. But man, I got a ton of respect for Kobe because he loves that challenge and he wants to continue to work to be better.
You said last week he's in a different place mentally. What does that look like? Where is this new mental headspace for him?
Your junior year in college is truly one of those years, and I said this about Io, where you get to play against your peers at your maximum level. It's very seldom you play against your age group, and you've got the experience that he's got. You've received the accolades. You've seen every kind of defense. You've been in the weight room. You've been coached. That's a pretty confident spot to be, and I think he's in that spot. Thank you.